Drug cartels made millions in the drug trade along the U.S.-Mexico border. Now a rogue dictator and Islamic terrorists are following their example. The transatlantic drug trade is financing these groups and their covert operations. The Christian Broadcasting Network's terrorism analyst Eric Stakelback has the story.
Although Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, and Hugo Chavez differ in many ways, they share a common enemy, the United States. And according to U.S. officials, drug smuggling also connects and helps fund these dangerous networks. West Africa is the center of their interests in this multi-billion-dollar business.
Virtually every flight that goes to West Africa today that is bearing cocaine or other drugs is coming from Venezuela.
Former State Department official Roger Noriega says Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez is well aware that drug shipments are flowing from his territory.
We have explicit evidence, and our government has sanctioned Venezuelan officials who have been involved in drug trafficking. So we know that the regime is complicit for years, and that Chavez has to have knowledge and approve of this sort of trafficking.
He says Chavez has long-standing ties to Colombian drug traffickers.
It's well established that even before he was president, he had ties to these guerrillas and to the narco traffickers. And he has basically made Venezuelan territory readily available to them.
Eric Stakelback joins us now. Eric, I get this. Hugo Chavez, dictator thug, I get it. I even get how Colombia is, well, at one point may have been complicit, but now it seems like the drug lords from Colombia have gone to Venezuela. Here's the leap I'm trying to make. How does it get to Al-Qaeda?
Eric, it's a very, very interesting connection here. Basically, these drugs, they get to West Africa from Venezuela via illicit flights, via fishing vessels. Now, once they arrive in West Africa, Eric, there's two Islamic terror groups in particular that have strongholds there, Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah. And what these Islamic terror groups do is they kind of provide safe passage for these drug smugglers. They help them transit the drugs up through Africa into Europe, where the cocaine market is skyrocketing right now. So basically, these Islamic terror groups, they charge the drug traffickers money. Hey, we'll give you safe passage through our territory, but you have to give us money. The Islamic terror groups obviously don't use the drugs, Eric, but they take the money they make in the drug trade and they use it to fund their operations, terrorist operations against the West and against Israel.
So these drugs are they're made in Colombia and Venezuela. They're trafficked from Venezuela to Africa, and then they're sold into Europe. I'm not sure where we're involved here.
Well, look, Eric, Europe is ultimately the final destination for a lot of these drugs, but two things here to remember. Number one, a lot of these drugs originating in Venezuela make their way right here to the U.S., too. There's still a nice cocaine market here. They make their way up through the Caribbean, through Mexico, to the U.S., with Venezuela as the starting point. Number two, this is a great way for Hugo Chavez, who is a sworn enemy of America. Eric, this is a great way for him to wage asymmetrical warfare against the West.
No doubt.
He creates
Absolutely.
Chaos in Western society in the U.S.
I completely agree with all of that. I get all that going on. I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to get ourselves. We'd be in a heap of mess if we started playing around in here.
Well, you know, you look at Afghanistan with the heroin traffic. That supplies money to Al-Qaeda. In Africa, that supplies money to Al-Qaeda. When they blow up the American embassies, where do you think the money comes from? It directly affects us. And on top of it, what's happening with all that money with the Hezbollah, that's what they're using funding for Hezbollah. So it does affect us in a roundabout way. But what can we do when Venezuela is sending it to Africa? Really, there's a very difficulty for America to get in the middle of it. But certainly.
You know why, though? You know why? What does Venezuela produce that we use?
Oil.
Oil. We're kind of tied here.
Well, our security is more important than foreign oil. And if Chavez is actually in cahoots with Al-Qaeda and sending drugs up through Africa to Europe, he needs to be taken out, just like any other
I like
state.
you.
period.
Tough call, though. Tough call, Chavez.
You know,
Take out Chavez.
bottom line is, at the end of the day, you hit the nail on the head. It's oil, 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 oil. Until we do something in this country to reduce our dependence on it, we're going to continue to play this game, and we're going to continue to put American lives at risk, and we got to do something about it soon.
That's too long. It takes too long for it to happen.
But we got to start.
Go ahead, Sasha.
That's all I got. We got to start reducing our dependence on foreign oil.
I'm not talking
That's
about
what
that.
President Obama is working on.
Working. We need to get rid of the threat now. Waiting until we get off of foreign oil. We've been talking about foreign oil for the past 5 years.
Are we assassinating Chavez now? What are we talking about?
Back to Eric. Eric, is there? I guess the whole this whole chain breaks down if we intercept the flights carrying drugs from Venezuela to Africa. Is that right? Is there an international Beau? Is there Interpol? Anyone that can?
Well, you have
Interpol.
Interpol, but in reality, you have to get the cooperation from Venezuela and then the East African or West African country that plane's landing in, which is controlled by Al Qaeda. How if it's flying into Somalia? You're going to get cooperation with the pirates of Somalia if the plane's landing there? That stuff will be guarded right into Europe.
Eric, where are the Europeans on this?
Well, guys, two things here. Well, the Europeans are very concerned about this. Number one, like Beau said, there has to be something international, but it's tough. Number one, Chavez, Venezuela, cut all ties, cut all cooperation with the American DEA back in 2005. Since then, the drug shipments have really gone through the roof.
Absolutely.
Another thing to remember here,
by
guys.
the way, that happened also to coincide with FARC leaving Colombia and moving into Venezuela.
Yes, and guys, we're just scratching the surface of Hugo Chavez's dangerous activities. We haven't even discussed Chavez and Iran and that whole relationship. He's a very bad actor. He's in our hemisphere.
A whole nother segment. We'll have you back to discuss that.
A whole hour.
Eric.
And the Panama.
Eric's take back.